Hey everyone, in this screencast I'm going to talk about mastery learning with badges. Gamification and badging, using badging for gamification has been just so impactful in my career, and I am excited to share that with you. So in this brief screencast, I'm going to share a couple strategies that I found to be impactful. We're going to talk about just a brief summary of what gamification actually is, why I chose badges as my form of gamification, a little bit about my experience, what does it look like, and also share a link on how to install. We will have the actual session, and this will take place Wednesday during lunch. So during your lunch period, come down to the LMC, and we can really dive into this and brainstorm, and just a fun time to collaborate and come up with all kinds of creative ideas. So gamification. Basically what gamification is, it's just the use of just like gameplay type of elements in a non-game context. So for example, when you think of many of the different apps that we all use, for example, Fitbit, just walking, right? But I know I'll get different badges every once in a while that says I've walked a certain distance in my lifetime of using the Fitbit. And so it just provides different incentives. And many apps are using, many programs are using, many companies use it for all kinds of different aspects. But mainly what it does is just helps as a big motivator, and it keeps things from getting boring. So when it comes to gamification, there's just some common mechanics, as it says here. You can give points. So we've probably all played some type of game where you get different points for your effort, and other things can be like badges, and that's what I'm going to focus in on: levels, leaderboards, and different challenges. And so honestly, we can actually use all of these elements in our Canvas courses, in our teaching. Four main ways to drive engagement. Feedback cycles are really key. We already know how important giving valuable feedback is. Clear goals, so like rules of play, so they're being clear and transparent with your expectations. It says a compelling narrative. At times, teachers like to come up with almost like quests for students to go on. I would say that's not a requirement. That's not something that I did a lot in my practice, but if you are the creative type to do that, then by all means go for it. And you also want to give challenging but achievable tasks, that kind of balance there, find that right balance. Benefits of gamification would be you can boost productivity. It's fun. The game is the reward itself. Effortless by engaging the whole brain. Again, I'm not going to read all these to you, but a couple things I really like is it allows people to make mistakes. And we all know that fail is that first attempt in learning. And so gamification really supports that. So I remember growing up playing, like Super Nintendo and Mario World, and I would fail and fail and fail and get all these extra lives and different things. But eventually I would beat the game, or I'd go up a level, and I got that feedback, and it felt good. Maybe a friend of mine could do it in maybe one turn, but he got the same level, and at the end we accomplished the same thing. We both beat the game, or exceeded to the next level. So it's that kind of mindset that, hey, it's okay if I fail as long as I'm growing, and you can really support that. I love this quote here from Mr. Rogers. Play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning, but for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood, and I love that, and I completely agree with it. A couple fun facts. Basically, all over the world, different companies are starting to gamify either their product or even internally the structure of their company. Badger, the app that we are going to use in Canvas, is working on all kinds of agreements with Amazon right now on badgifying both their workplace, and even when you apply for a job, if you've earned digital credentials along the way, you can submit those, and an algorithm will run and say, hey, you're 100% match for this job. Or, ooh, if you get 2 more of these badges, digital credentials, then you'll be a great match for this job. Oh no, by the way, here's the average salary for that. We also have NASA is working with Badger, and Walmart is also working with Badger. So this company that we have access to is beyond the K-12 space, and I just feel that applies a little more meaning to what we're doing here at Dempsey. So why did I choose badges? I'm a big believer in Bloom's taxonomy, and I think that gamifying can really tie into the different levels of understanding that a student has of a concept. So for me, I broke everything up into different levels, and I reflected that in maybe the badges that were be given out. So level one for me is kind of like in this area, or they're just recalling the information, just the basic concepts. And we all know some students can do it pretty quickly, and those students that got it, they got the badge and they move on. Other students, it takes a little time. And so again, kind of that video game type of scenario is sometimes I need a little extra life every once in a while so I can beat the game. Well, here we have students that need the extra life so they can get the badge. And on a unit that maybe like a foundational standard, where I'm working the kids all the way through this and I want them to create an end product, they're going to earn different badges along the way as they work their way up this pyramid. And so the idea is with gamifying and badging, you're increasing student buy-in. And just a quick little testimonial that I had is I actually had students realizing that if I published an assignment, a lot of times it would publish at like midnight. If I said, if I held an assignment that said, oh, don't publish until, October 1st. Well, midnight on October 1st, it would go through. So I had students that would either stay up until midnight or get up really early and submit work. So I would get up and I would see that students were submitting work at like 5:30 in the morning. That wasn't due that day. It was actually due maybe 4 weeks from that day. But what they wanted is they just wanted the badge. They had actually wanted bragging rights to move up the leaderboard, so they could rub it into their peers' faces a little bit, and that they're continuing to advance and continuing to grow as a learner. Now, I just mentioned a little bit about a leaderboard, which I'll talk about here in a second. But another thing I just want to tie into is this connected really easily to my classroom management system. One of my management systems I used in the past, which was I used BonusBox, ClassDojo, things like that. We all have our little system, and this kind of tied in there. And it also just naturally just allowed me to really focus in on mastery learning and mastery teaching. So then I could use mastery pathways in Canvas, and it was just so exciting for me because some of the hiccups with mastery pathways I actually got to avoid when it comes to the logistics of PowerSchool and different things like that. So what does it look like in Canvas? Probably the most exciting thing for a student is they can see their name here, and I blocked out their name for privacy issues, but they all get an alias. So you kind of see in this one right here where this kid is Vampire Bat, and so it actually hides their name. As a teacher, I can see all of the students' actual names. When they log in, though, they see their real name, their alias, and then all of their peers, they only see their alias. So it's kind of like a Google Doc when you log in under anonymous, and you see like anonymous squirrel or something like that. Very similar. You can see how many kids have earned badges, how many badges are available, and then you could scroll. If we're in Canvas, you'd actually be able to see and scroll through what badges have been earned. Super fun for the kids. They can go in here and kids would just love to see where they were on the leaderboard, how they rated their peers. And this is all just basically for fun. I did not give any kind of reward or even boost their grade depending on their placement of the leaderboard itself. Now, eventually, my grades were based off the number of badges that they earn, which is a little bit different. You didn't get like an automatic A+ if you were in first place. That's not exactly how that worked. And I can talk about that during our session a little bit more. But to wrap this up, I just want to show what it looks like in Canvas with a module. And so in this module, you'll see that, again, I'm a big proponent on chunking, so I don't have too many items in this module here, or in our modules. And I have the boss battle here. I have the requirements. I have exactly what all you need to see. So this specific module, the boss battle, has a couple things I'd like to point out to you. This item, the review and reinforce, this is connected through mastery pathways. So when the student first logged in, they would not see this. The only thing they would see is the brain pop activity and then key concepts. If they did not do well on key concepts, see how it says mastery pathways? It automatically went, and if they scored below a 7 out of 10, so they failed to meet their goal. This goal is 7 out of 10. If they failed to meet that, it would automatically assign this review and reinforce. So I'm differentiating my instruction right away, and it's automated. They don't have to wait for me to come in and hand them a paper or hand them a review activity. And the way it would work out is everything else would be grayed out until they completed this review and reinforce activity. So it takes it down a couple steps, allows them to kind of get their feet back underneath them, and then once they submit and get a 6 out of 8 here, then it would unlock and it would allow them to go do the key concepts again. Now let's say that after the first attempt or maybe in the second attempt they get a higher score, so it's out of 10 points. What if they get a 9? Well, if they earned a 9, then it unlocked this enrichment module. And so this was kind of fun. You can almost have like secret levels of a video game. You can reflect that in Canvas. So this module would appear and it would show them exactly what they needed to do, and they would all be going for this enrich badge. So backing up a second, once they got a 7 out of 10 on the key concepts here, they automatically get the measurement master badge. So that would show up immediately on the leaderboard. And then if they got a 9 out of 10, this activity would open up. And the way it's set up in Canvas is, here's my key concept. It's the same exact assignment located in both modules, but the requirement is different. And here they have to have a 9 in order to advance through the module. This module, they only need a 7. So if they get that 9, then it allows them to go through and work their way through and get this enrichment activity. And if they get a 4 out of 5 on that, they get the enrich badge. So right away, the students that earn a 7, they can choose, hey, do I want to go for the enrichment badge, or do I want to move on to the next activity? So for this specific example, it'd be like, oh, do I want to continue in 2.1 or do I want to move on to 2.2? Once they earn that 9 though, and they unlock this stays unlocked for however long I want. It could be the end of the quarter, so they can go back and earn this enrichment badge. They could also, as long as this is available, maybe they score a 7, they can go back whenever they want and retry it and go towards that enrichment badge. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of voice and choice. You can really have some great conversations. In the email that I'm sending out with this is a link on how you can set up Badger in your course. And again, please come see me on Wednesday in the loft, and we will talk about more fun things you can do with badging, and all kinds of different collaboration can take place there. We will be covering gamification and badging for the next several weeks during the Learning Lunches, so feel free to attend. Thanks. Bye.